folks, so the chicken originally came from Southeast Asia. It was a jungle bird, and this is a hybrid. Now for this recipe, you need a nice fat chook, like chooky here, with some good breast meat. So we'll get 2 breasts from the chicken. Also for this recipe, I just need a small onion. So that one will do. Just a tiny onion. And also I'd like a beetroot. We've got a few beetroot here and a few other things, but I don't want a large beetroot, but I want a nice size one. Oh, that looks pretty good. So nice fresh beetroot. It's so hard to on some of the recipes I could use the leaves, but on this particular one I might just use 1 or 2 leaves, but we don't need many. But that's the beetroot for this recipe. So I'm also going to use some homegrown potato for this recipe. So we're in my potting shed, and this shed is normally 5 to 10 degrees warmer than the current air temperature. Because we live in a cool climate, things like pineapples and lemongrass are much harder to grow. So I'm going to use some lemongrass in this recipe. So I'll just pull out a bit. With lemongrass you have to be very careful because it will cut your fingers. We don't need much because there's only 2 of us. So yeah, three stalks of lemongrass is more than enough. Here, let's go completely healthy and have a homegrown capsicum as well. Welcome to my kitchen. So we're trying to use all our natural resources for the cooking of this meal. You saw the chicken before. I decided in the end that we just use the thighs. So I've just opened them up and I've left the skin on. And at the moment, this is 2 of our potatoes. I'm just going to do some little cuts. Not all the way through, and then I'm going to slightly boil them for about 10 minutes. And it's a pleasure to be able to cook. I mean, there's so many natural disasters and human disasters happening in our world, and even in our own country. We've got northern Queensland, which has just been flooded, something terrible. So we grow our own lemongrass, just like our own potatoes. And if I wanted to regrow some of this lemongrass, anything with roots on, like this little piece here, or this, if I was to cut it off even to there, it would regrow. Every part of a lemongrass plant you can use in some way, shape or form, whether it's to eat, sauces, teas, in stews or whatever. But we're not using all the parts of the plant today, so I'm just cutting off the tough, what I'd call the tough bit of the root, and then I'm taking off the outer leaves of this lemongrass, because it can be a little bit tough and it's a little bit fiddly as well, but the joys of cooking. So normally in the end, all I want is just, well, in my case, all I want is a couple of inches, a small finger length, pinky length of a lemongrass. So again, we just cut off the ends and peel it until we get to that softer, cleaner centre. So we've been growing lemongrass for quite a few years now, and to be honest, if I was in a Southeast Asian kitchen, I'd be using it weekly at least. But because we have so much choice here in our country and of food and different things, then I tend not to use the lemongrass as much as I would if I was living in Malaysia or or some country like that. So I'll do these other two, and then we'll prepare that. And finally, we need to release the essential oils. And I'm just going to use the back of this knife and just to crush them a little. So the essence is coming out, and the kitchen is flooding with this lemongrass essence. Some people like the leaves, the outer leaves of the lemongrass, the top bits, for a type of tea or a type of cordial in hot, humid climates. So we'll just slice these up into thin slice. If there's any lemongrass that's really tough, then I just put them into a blender. Yeah, the essence and the oils and the smells are quite good. So even this, even though it's fresh, certainly far fresher than you'd ever get in a supermarket, it's still a little bit, just slightly tough, but we'll deal with that. So I'm just using, in this particular case, 2 cloves of garlic, 1 for each of us in our cooking. Again, we'll just cut off the ends, and then just to release the oils again, I'll just lean on the garlic. And then it's very, very easy to peel. And then just to finish off, we'll just slice up the garlic finely. Some people don't like having large chunks of garlic in their meals. Myself personally, I don't have any problem. So this is one of our lovely little onions that we grew. It should be a nice sweet one. So again, we'll just cut off the roots on the bottom and the top, and then we'll peel and we'll slice the onion. Wow, well that little onion had fire in it. It started me weeping, and so bad I had to glad wrap it. So here's our beautiful homegrown beetroot, not the biggest one. I'll just take off the bottom and take off the top. And I'm also thinking about using some of these centre leaves, which should be nice and tender. So we'll just slice them off and dispose of the rest. I remember as a child that often we had to grow all our own food because there wasn't the resources to buy what you liked. And times were very tough. I can remember getting an orange in my Christmas stocking. Could you imagine if you did that today for a child? Anyway, this beetroot looks really good. With those potatoes that I've just slightly boiled, I'm going to roast the potatoes as well as the beetroot. Saved 3 little beetroot leaves, which we'll add to the cooking. And then I'll just slice them up finely. These are very highly nutritious. It's a bit like, in a sense, eating spinach. It's a shame that when we grow crops like the beets that most people never ever get to taste or even understand that the whole plant is edible. So there we go. We'll put that in with the lemongrass. We have an abundance of herbs at the moment, and this is just a little piece of parsley. And again, I'm just going to cut it up and use it in the cooking. Finally, this little capsicum, weight-wise, it's quite heavy. So I'm not sure if it's full of seeds or not, so we'll just split it in two and have a look. And it's, as I thought, it's very thick-skinned and there's a few seeds in there. I'll de-seed it and we'll cook this up as well. And the second last piece is the chicken thigh with skin on. Just dressed it up with a little bit of parsley and some herbs and a bit of sauce. Just a general sauce. Oil's fine. So we've just lightly boiled the homegrown potatoes. As before, we had sliced them just slightly, and in there I'm going to place a little bit of cheese, and then we'll roast the potatoes with the majority of the meal. Cheese up and put it in between the potatoes. And then lastly, of course, is the chicken. But before I do that, I'm going to pan fry some of the onion and some of the lemongrass. So I've sauteed the onion, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of lemongrass, and I've decided to throw in just a little bit of beetroot leaf. So this is going to be a base for the chicken thigh to sit on top of. Chicken thigh on top, the skin on, a little bit of cheese on top just to decorate. And I will oil all this as well. And the rest of what we have left, we're only going to cook about half a cup of rice altogether. I do like black rice. I like it for its texture, I like it for its colour, and I like it for its taste. So we're just going to put a teaspoon, we don't need much, a teaspoon of black rice in there. It's more than sufficient for this meal. All the beetroot and the lemongrass, the rest of the powerful onion, uncooked at this stage, and the rest of the parsley. And I'll put in a little bit of white rice as well. I will stuff these capsicums, but later on in the process. And 3 spoons of white rice into the mixture. More than enough for this. You know, one of the most annoying things about when you go to a restaurant or a cafe, and there could be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of you, instead of serving the meals out all at once, it comes in dribs and drabs. It's most annoying. Good chefs can prepare any meal for numbers of people and deliver it on time at the table. Just a little annoying thing that upsets me. So we spent about half an hour in the oven. It's a fan-forced oven, it's electric, and I've had it on 180 degrees. Depending on your own oven, some ovens may have to go up to 200. But this one is an excellent oven, good seals, holds its temperature, and we don't have any issues at all. So that's what the meal looks like so far. It's not quite cooked, but in 15 minutes it will be ready. So we're almost there. I'm just going to garnish some of the meal with a little bit of basil. Always important to keep your instruments sharpened, and the other thing that's very important, in my opinion, is all your timber that you use for putting pots on or chopping blocks or anything like that. I tend to oil them at least 20 times a year. It's a good habit. It helps preserve This particular chopping block would have to be 8 or 10 years old. It's been well worn, but it does the job. So, time to check the meal. So we cut up the capsicum and put it in with the rice filling and the lemongrass. The beauty of all this, it's all homegrown. And you'll notice that if you're really observant, I never used any salt at all. Not one bit of salt. Admittedly, there's salt in the cheese, but I have added no salt. And I feel that our world at times is salt crazy. And sugar. Putting sugar into food is, this one will have to be mine. It's just crazy in my opinion. So just a little bit of garnish. Also, just to complement the meal. No, it's not champagne. Sparkling grape juice. Bon appetit.